Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're checking out Aggro Blood for Unlimited. This is purely Aggro Blood as far as things go, dealing damage from any source imaginable and just getting it in. We're not doing any real self-pinging here as much as possible. We're just trying to flood the board and run down as fast as we can. I found this deck to be really good. You do get a lot of people conceding early, but most of the time you can get, honestly, getting your hand refilled is always a good thing, so a nice cheap refill is always great, so a couple of those never hurt anybody. Otherwise it's your pretty stock standard fare as far as cards go, so we'll get right into it and check it out. Alright, so I'm doing my best to pick the games that I think are some of the better ones for this, although expect them to all be reasonably fast, since obviously Blood is a fast deck, that's what it is designed to do, so hopefully I'll be able to fill in 3 games for this video without much trouble. So ideally you want a hand like this, a good starting hand, 1, 2 and 3 plays all really easily lined up. A Urias on 3 is nearly always a universally good play because it's hard to counter. Haven can counter it reasonably well, but that's about it. I found most other classes don't have a good way to get rid of Urias on 3. Obviously this wasn't a good game, so we'll go into whatever's the next one is, but obviously that's a really good starting hand. So I definitely picked the wrong game there. I picked the one above this game that I was hoping to show you guys, the Rune game.
Time to get started.
So I do apologize for that, but obviously those early concedes are pretty common. If you can throw a 1-drop to the board, I'd say about 50% of the time, if your opponent isn't something like Haven, they will concede. If it is Haven, expect to probably lose. I found that seems to be the bigger one, but outside of Havencraft, you can beat mostly everything else without much trouble. Of course, that does require you not to brick your hand too bad. For example, this hand, at least to start with, wasn't too great. Obviously, that was made up for with our couple of draws, but we're still behind because we are going second, so we have got to be a little careful. Summon Bloodkin is quite nice. Low cost Blood followers, always a good thing against Rune, as they have to force out more damage to potentially deal with it. So you can't go too wrong with that. So a nice wide board, as much damage as I could possibly get out of this hand at the moment. They did end up taking out as much as they possibly could, but that's not too much of a problem. The nice Vania draw works perfectly to actually fill our board back up so we can take advantage of Hellblaze Demon with potentially Savage Wolf for next turn. So just 12 health left for them. Seraphic Blade, okay, and a Magic Owl. So Rune can be a bit tricky just because of the 0 cost cards. Once you start getting to about turn 5, that's where they will start just spamming things to the board, so them being able to counter you is actually pretty common. And we're still a little ways off being able to get lethal, so I do decide to go for the Traitorous Duke play, probably with the Urias we just picked up, just to fill out the board and try and get a couple of damage in. To weaken them enough that the Savage Wolf is going to actually be really damaging. I mean, we have got basically with the Evo a 7 damage Savage Wolf. So as long as we don't hit a ward, that should be fine. Twin Blade, a little disappointing, but we still get the extra damage in that we want. At least the 1, so that's always good. And they did go for the Daria, giving us 2 damage. So we are just 1 off, 2 off. Yeah, 2 off. Definitely close. Ooh, and there's the top deck Rosary. More than enough damage to win this out. Couldn't ask for much better fitting end. And of course, conceding because 7 damage is lethal. Following up that game, we've got Blood versus Blood. Another match that can be a little awkward because of course Blood is easy, but if it's another aggro Blood, it really comes down to who has the more aggressive start and who can stick things to the board. So you definitely want to be getting in as much as you can against BloodCraft, regardless of what you're playing against. But you've also got to be a little careful of their Vengeance. You don't want them to be able to just spam their Vengeance to the board. But so far, we've actually got a really good hand. The Razor is a really nice 3 damage. The Entrancing with the Savage will give us another potential 7 damage Savage Wolf with the Evo, so it's always a really nice way to have things. And they're dealing damage themselves, which is a great advantage. Plus, we ended up getting the Commander, so turn 5 Commander Evo is looking really good. So they did force themselves to take some more damage. Always a good thing. I decided to buff this time on the Commander since I want to be able to go for the Evo 7. Since that'll always work out well. And sorry, Savage will only mean 6, but either way. Still really good damage. So we can go for 7 damage this time. And a top deck Ambling Wraith for lethal. You couldn't ask for better top decks with this deck. I mean, the amount of cards that are in it that generate value is high, so the odds of you getting something off the top to actually deal damage is usually fairly good. And in this case, it was exactly what we needed. Now for the last game in this video at least, we are going against Havencraft, probably our hardest matchup to usually beat. Given the situation most of the time, it's not impossible, it's just a pain. So you have the Hellblaze Demon Goblin and, of course, the Vania. Swapping out the Vania for a Razor Claw. Not really what I was after. I was really after something I could buff with Hellblaze Demon. Potentially would be good. So I go for the early Goblin play. Feels pretty good actually. 1-drop Goblin's always nice. We've also got the Urias, which we can set up quite nicely against our opponent's board. The only real problem is the Destiny Wing Knight. I actually really want to get rid of that. So, unfortunately, the Razor is going to be a sacrificial Razor. Just dealing with the 3-3 so they can't potentially get a bigger follower later. And the 2-1, not much of a threat even going face, and it does end up going for the Goblins, so that worked out really well. And the City of Gold play, so really they just sacrificed a lot of board space for at least the next couple of turns. Now I can go for a full-blown Hellblaze Demon. The only real problem here is that I don't have any good storm targets, so I've got to be a little cautious, but at the same time I can't afford to miss this chance to go for the Hellblaze Demon, so I throw it on the Levenduke, since it's going to be a fairly decent follower in general. And then of course taking the Evo to the Hellblaze so I can get rid of the 3-3, because again I don't want to deal with stuff that gets buffed. And we've got a really, really good board. Now our opponent did just pass and concede. With in hand and our current board, the damage they would have taken would have been immense and probably really hard for them to actually recover from, so not a huge surprise. So as far as decks go, this would be my go-to if I wanted to finish missions or I wanted to just really rank up quickly and unlimited at the moment. Seems to be super good at getting early win games. Of course, with Haven so prevalent as well though, you do have to be a bit careful. If you start going on a massive Haven streak, might want to swap decks, go with something else for a little bit until Haven kind of starts to dissipate from the current meta, as I find depending on the time of day, of course, will depend on whether this deck will perform great or perform badly based on the matchups. Again, Haven being typically worst, with probably Rune being a close second, although a little less temperamental. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to like button and subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Until next time guys, see ya.